Imagine a room. It is 6 feet by 8 feet. It smells of stale sweat, industrial disinfectant, and hopelessness. There is a stainless steel toilet in the corner, exposed for anyone walking by to see. There is a thin mattress on a concrete slab, and sitting on that mattress is not a dangerous criminal, not a murderer, but one of the most talented actors of his generation. He is wearing a bright orange jumpsuit with the number P50522 stenciled on the chest. He is earning 8 cents an hour scrubbing pans in the prison kitchen. The other inmates call him Mo Downey. He is terrified. He is in withdrawal. This is not a scene from a movie. This was the reality of Robert Downey Jr. in 1999. Today, when we see him, we see Iron Man. We see the charismatic billionaire, the leader of the Avengers, the man who commands $50 million for a single film. We see the sunglasses, the confidence, the sharp wit. It is easy to forget that Hollywood had completely erased him. He wasn't just struggling, he was blacklisted. Insurance companies refused to cover him. Directors refused to hire him. His friends had given up on him. He was considered a walking corpse, a tragedy waiting to happen. The story of Robert Downey Jr. is the ultimate definition of the easy life philosophy, not because his life was easy, but because he learned how to navigate the hardest possible life with grace. He learned that resilience isn't about never falling. It's about how you land, and more importantly, how you get back up. Today, we are going to dissect his descent into hell and his miraculous ascent back to the light. We are going to look at the specific tools from martial arts to radical humility that he used to rewire his brain. This is the blueprint for the greatest comeback in history. To understand the addiction, we have to understand the origin. Robert was born into the chaos of 1970s New York City. His father, Robert Downey Sr., was an underground filmmaker, a counterculture icon. The Downey household was a bohemian playground where art was everything and boundaries were non-existent. There were parties, music, and drugs. Lots of drugs. In a tragic twist of parenting that would define Robert's life, his father allowed him to try marijuana when he was just 6 years old. 6. Most children are learning to ride a bike. Robert was learning to get high. For his father, it was a misguided attempt at bonding. As Robert later explained, when my dad and I would do drugs together, it was like him trying to express his love for me in the only way he knew how. Imagine the psychological wiring that creates. In his developing brain, love and intoxication became fused together. To feel loved was to be altered. To be sober was to be lonely. This was the seed that would grow into a monster. Robert was a prodigy. He dropped out of high school to pursue acting, and his talent was undeniable. He had a chaotic energy, a quicksilver mind that could improvise dialogue faster than writers could type it. In the 80s and early 90s, he became a star. He was nominated for an Oscar for his portrayal of Charlie Chaplin. He learned to play the violin and play tennis left-handed for the role. He was brilliant, but the shadow was growing. By the mid-90s, the functional addict was becoming dysfunctional. The stories from this period are legendary, not for their glamour, but for their sadness. He was arrested multiple times. He was found speeding down Sunset Boulevard in his Porsche, naked, throwing imaginary rats out of the window. But the moment that truly signaled the end of his control happened in 1996. Robert was so intoxicated that he wandered into a neighbor's house in Malibu. He didn't break in to steal, he was just confused. He found a child's bedroom, passed out in the bed, and went to sleep. Imagine the horror of the homeowner finding a stranger in their child's bed. It wasn't funny, it was terrifying. It was the action of a man who had lost all tether to reality. He was arrested. He went to rehab. He escaped rehab. He was arrested again. During one court hearing, he stood before a judge, looking thin, pale, and desperate. He delivered a line that is one of the most haunting descriptions of addiction ever spoken. He said, "It's like I have a loaded gun in my mouth, and my finger's on the trigger, and I like the taste of the gunmetal. He wasn't partying anymore. He was dying, and he knew it, but he couldn't stop. The judge, seeing that rehab wasn't working, decided to save his life in the only way left. He sentenced Robert Downey Jr. to 3 years in the California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility and State Prison, Corcoran. Prison is a great equalizer. It doesn't care if you have an Oscar nomination. In Corcoran, Robert was just inmate P50522. He was stripped of his identity. He was stripped of his freedom. He has described it as the deepest kind of trouble you can be in. The violence was real. The threat was constant. He wasn't in a VIP wing, he was in general population. He worked in the kitchen, serving slop to other inmates. He had to navigate the racial politics, the gangs, the sheer boredom that drives men mad. But it was in this concrete box that the first step toward the easy life began. He was forced to stop running. For the first time in 30 years, he was sober. Not because he wanted to be, but because he had to be. He had to sit with his thoughts. He had to sit with the shame of what he had done to his career, to his family, to his son Indio. He realized that his talent couldn't save him here. His charm couldn't save him. Only humility could. He served nearly a year before being granted early release on parole. He emerged in 2000, broke and humbled. He got a job on the hit TV show, Ally McBeal. It seemed like the comeback was starting. He won a Golden Globe. He was the best thing on television. But the demon wasn't dead. It was just sleeping. In 2001, police found him wandering an alleyway in Culver City, barefoot and high. He was fired from Ally McBeal. This was the final blow. Hollywood declared him uninsurable. This is a death sentence for an actor. If a production company cannot insure you, they cannot hire you, no matter how talented you are. Woody Allen wanted to cast him. The insurance company said no. Mel Gibson wanted him for a stage play. The insurance company said no. He was finished. He was 36 years old, and he was considered a has-been, a junkie who blew his chance. Then came the Burger King moment. It sounds like a joke, but for Robert, it was a spiritual intervention. In 2003, driving a car filled with drugs, he pulled into a Burger King on the Pacific Coast Highway. He ordered a burger. It was disgusting. He took one bite and felt a wave of nausea. But it wasn't just the food. It was a moment of clarity. He looked at the burger, looked at the ocean, and realized something snapped, or perhaps something healed. He drove to the ocean. He took his stash of drugs, thousands of dollars worth of narcotics, and threw them into the Pacific. He vowed, right there, looking at the waves, that he was done. But vowing is easy. The easy life requires work. Robert knew he needed a new structure. He couldn't just rely on willpower. He needed a system. He found 2 anchors. The first was love. He met Susan Levin, a producer. She was stable, smart, and she gave him an ultimatum. I will marry you, but the devil cannot come with us. He credits her as the architect of his recovery. She gave him something to lose that was more valuable than the high. The second anchor was Wing Chun. Robert began studying this Chinese martial art with obsessive dedication. Wing Chun is not just about fighting, it is about grounding. It is about centerline theory, protecting your center, staying balanced, deflecting force rather than fighting it. It is pure stoicism in motion. Robert replaced the addiction to substances with an addiction to discipline. He trained every day. He rewired his brain. He learned that he could feel pain and not run from it. He learned that he could feel anxiety and breathe through it. Slowly, painfully, he began to rebuild, but he needed a break. He needed someone to trust him when no one else would. That person was Mel Gibson. Mel, a controversial figure himself, paid Robert's insurance bond out of his own pocket so he could star in The Singing Detective. It was a small movie, but it broke the seal. Then came Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, a film that proved Robert was still sharp, still brilliant. And then, The risk of the century. Marvel Studios was planning to make a movie about a B-list superhero named Iron Man. They wanted a fresh face. The director, Jon Favreau, wanted Robert. The studio executive said, "Absolutely not. Are you crazy? He is a risk." Favreau fought for him. He told them, Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. He understands the character because he has lived the life. Tony Stark is a genius billionaire playboy who creates his own demons, is humbled by a near-death experience in a cave, and builds a suit of armor to save himself and the world. It was an autobiography. Marvel finally agreed, but they put him on a short leash. If he messed up once, he was out. Robert didn't just play Tony Stark, he channeled him. He improvised lines. He brought a vulnerability to the superhero genre that had never existed before. When the movie opened, the world didn't just see an action hero. They saw a man redeeming himself in real time. The line at the end of the movie, "I am Iron Man," wasn't in the script. Robert ad-libbed it. It was a declaration. The success was stratospheric. Iron Man launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Robert Downey Jr. went from earning 8 cents an hour in prison to earning $75 million for Avengers Endgame. But here is the most important part of the easy life philosophy. Robert didn't let the success destroy him this time. Why? Because he remained humble. He kept doing his Wing Chun. He kept his circle tight. He constantly credits his wife, his mentors, and his discipline. He knows how fragile it all is. There is a beautiful moment during an interview where he is asked about his past. He says, "It's not that difficult to overcome these seemingly ghastly problems. What's hard is to decide to do it." He teaches us that the easy life is a decision. It is the decision to stop digging when you are in a hole. It is the decision to ask for help. It is the decision to forgive yourself. Robert Downey Jr. could have let shame eat him alive. He could have said, "I blew it. I don't deserve a second chance." Instead, he hugged his cactus. He embraced his thorny, painful past and said, "This is part of my story, but it is not the end of my story." So, look at your life right now. Have you made mistakes? Have you burned bridges? Do you feel like you are in a prison of your own making, whether it's debt, addiction, or depression? Look at Robert. He was P50522. He was blacklisted. He was dead in the water. If he can rise from the ashes to become the most beloved hero on the planet, then what is stopping you? The suit of armor doesn't make the hero. The man inside the suit, who refuses to give up, makes the hero. Your past is not a life sentence. It is just your origin story. Throw the burger away, look at the ocean, and decide right now to start your comeback. Thank you for watching. If you believe in second chances, share this video. Leave a comment with your favorite RDJ moment, and subscribe because the path to an easy life is paved with stories just like this one. See you in the next video.